One, two, three, four. Good evening, space monkeys. I am Blue Highwind, and this is Freelancing, the show where I talk, and presumably you listen, I guess. Generally I just talk about something that's happened during the week for a good half hour, something pop culture related, something I didn't think deserved a blog post. And, what we have this week, and, what actually happened was a complete friggin' desert. I had nothing to talk about until, I think, yesterday or the day before, when all of a sudden, Disney came in to save the day with a surprise, well, maybe not exactly a surprise announcement. We knew this was coming for a while, but a big announcement, which is that the Star Wars Expanded Universe has contracted a great deal and no longer exists. It is now all non-canon, it is all now apocryphal. It's gone, out the window, they threw it out. I assume the writers on staff didn't get fired or anything, but we knew this was going to happen. I mean, we just did. With the sequels coming out, Star Wars Episode 7 is coming out next year. According to a Reddit post, it's coming out in about 600 days. So that's going to be a big deal next year. 2015 is going to be the year of Star Wars 7. And 2016 is going to be the years when we all mourn Star Wars 7, because I'm already predicting it's going to suck, and you can hate me for that. Yeah. But anyway, if you're going to go and make a whole new trilogy of Star Wars, and you want to go and make a big, huge, big-budget movie, you're not going to stay faithful to Timothy Zahn, you know? You're not going to really stay faithful to these goofy novels that were written in the 1990s, which, on the one hand, is extremely disrespectful, kind of ignores Star Wars fan history, ignores a great deal of the franchise's heritage, but on the other hand is really practical. So, I'm not sure if I'm angry, because I'm really not. I'm not a huge Star Wars Expanded Universe fan. I've always kind of considered them non-canon anyway. Even when I was a little kid, I remember I was reading some of these books, and I'm like, alright, this is interesting, but I don't really think of this being the same level as the movies, and I don't think anyone really did. I'm sure there are some hardcore fans, the kinds of people who write on Wikipedia. There is a website called Wikipedia where there is all the Star Wars information, and they're gonna have one hell of a shitty time the next couple of days, because they gotta go and declare just about 90% of their archives non-canon, I think, now. But, it's a shame, but there's a giant amount of Star Wars Expanded Universe stuff. You have no idea how much there is. It is impossible for you to possibly keep track. There have been so many books, there have been so many games, there have been so many TV shows, there's been all kinds of things, and it's all basically out the window. And I can almost understand, like, if you're gonna go keep going, you're gonna go and make your own new Star Wars franchise, 'cause that's basically what it is. It's a sequel trilogy. You're going to want to throw everything out. But they kind of went above and beyond. The announcement they made is the entire Expanded Universe is gone. So that's not just everything after Return of the Jedi. That's not just that little bit. That's everything in between. That's, I believe, Shadows of the Empire. That's everything before Episode 1. It's not the Clone Wars. Very disappointing. Some people grew to like this show, but the fucking Clone Wars movie, that piece of goddamn shit, that is still canon. Star Wars Holiday Special is non-canon. Oh well. But everything before that, I think Knights of the Old Republic, that might be non-canon. If the Old Republic MMO is still running, that might be non-canon. It's all gone, like all of it, except for one cartoon and the movies. Like, they torched it. They really did. And we knew it was going to happen. We must have been girding ourselves. They've slowly, basically already announced it beforehand. This kind of made it formal. And, you know, I wasn't that big of a fan of this thing. I mean, I read my share of Star Wars books. I don't know what happened to any of them. But, you know, it wasn't a big part of my life. So I'm not really in mourning. I'm not going to get mad about it. But I find it interesting, because there have been basically hundreds of people who have been working on this very messy, this very confusing, but, you know, loving. They put a lot of love into this huge project, which is expanding Star Wars beyond just George Lucas's vision. And it's not that their work is now meaningless, because it's all fiction anyway. You can go declare it non-canon, but it doesn't make two fucking bits of difference. It's on the page, it's imagination one way or another. I mean, I can go and declare the prequels to be non-canon. I could do that. I could just say, nope, they never happened. And it's just as relevant to the real world as if Disney goes and tells me that the Glove of Darth Vader series never happened. Oh well. You know, like, it doesn't make a difference. I don't think people are going to go to war over this. You know, nobody's going to start fighting any battles. This isn't like biblical apocrypha. You're not going to find the Catholic Church going and murdering Cathars because, you know, they have Gnostic tendencies. That's not happening, you know. I'm sure there's going to be internet arguments, but actually, you know what? The internet's been generally pretty mature for once. I guess the Star Wars fans have kind of been led to this, and they've come to accept this, and this is just sort of, it's been made formal, but they knew it was going to happen anyway. So nobody's getting furious, and if they are, they're the real vocal minority. But I still feel like we should look back at the Star Wars Expanded Universe just for a moment, and kind of just appreciate it. Alright, so the general accepted time of when the Star Wars Expanded Universe began is thought to be Timothy Zahn's Thrawn trilogy, which started in 1991. That was the year of my birth, actually, and ended in 1993. But that's not exactly true. The Expanded Universe of Star Wars, basically semi-canon materials, it goes back basically to the beginning. It started actually in 1977 with Marvel Star Wars. There was actually a Marvel comic series based on the Star Wars films, and within 7 issues they immediately finished the first Star Wars movie, which I've been told by George Lucas I have to call A New Hope, but I really don't like to. But, fine, I'll call it A New Hope just so that everyone knows what the fuck I'm talking about, but I hate that title, and I don't like accepting his retcons. I just don't, but anyway, the Star Wars Marvel comics, that continued until 1986. They burned right through the movies, and in between movies, they continued to make issues. So there were all kinds of adventures that Luke, Leia, Han Solo, all the guys, all the droids, everybody we come to love, they're having adventures in between the movies. All this stuff is happening, and Marvel's making it. And they kept doing it for very close to a decade. Once I was in a comic book shop in Ocean City, New Jersey, of all places, and they had the complete collection. Like, they had all these Star Wars comics from the 1980s. And I didn't read any of them. I just kind of, like, looked at the covers. And it was really amazing. It's like this really goofy, cartoony art style, which is just how comics were colored back then. And I guess comics are still colored. I don't know what the deal. I'm not a comic reader, so like, all these crazy adventures is like a space bunny, and the Emperor comes back to life, and they're jumping on planets, and this is pulpy, just completely for kids. That's what it was. It was for kids. Little teenagers, maybe, at most, could appreciate it. And it's so campy, and it's so much fun, and it's gone. And that was just, like, one thing. It has no real relevance. It never really thought of itself as being canon, but they sold it, they made money off of it. People spent probably a good deal of their life working on it. I'm not sure if there are any major comic book names who are behind it or anything relevant, but, you know, it's just a thing that was there, and some people probably have very fond memories of collecting their Marvel comics. The guy who ran the comic book store probably loved the things, he had them, or maybe he didn't. He might have been trying to unload all this crap, but who knows. But the first novel of the Expanded Universe happens in not 1991, not the 1980s, but actually 1978, with a man named Alan Dean Foster, who wrote a novel called Splinter of the Mind's Eye. And this is the first Empire Strikes Back. This is the first real sequel to Star Wars. George Lucas, as he was making the first movie, commissioned this novel just in case he wasn't able to actually fund his next movie, because at the time, George Lucas, in interviews, bullshits like fucking right out of his ass that he had this whole thing planned, there's just 6 movies. Yeah, no, he didn't. He had no plan whatsoever when he was making these movies, which is fine. It opened up a lot of creative options, and considering the 3 first movies he made, it was actually pretty solid and pretty elegant work, considering the guy had no plan whatsoever. But he did, it was really greatest movies of all time. George Lucas, you have nothing but respect for me for making those. The internet kind of hates you for making the prequels. I'm learning to forgive you for that. I'm a mature person. I can look back at the good stuff. But anyway, back on Alan Dean Foster's Splinter of the Mind's Eye. This story is Luke and Leia go and land on a swamp planet. And Darth Vader comes along, and I've never actually read this book, so I'm not sure. I did not have weeks in advance to prepare this, but read all this material. I'm not going to. But Luke and Leia go and land, and there's actually a great deal of romance between them, which, in retrospect, is really, really dark. A little. Hey, I thought his name was Luke Skywalker, not Luke Lannister, but yeah, because, again, nobody actually thought that Luke and Leia were brother and sister until Return of the Jedi. That just came out of nowhere. That was entirely an invention. And Luke was not Darth Vader's son until Empire Strikes Back. This was not pre-planned. Ironically, I think the prequels were better pre-planned, considering Lucas knew that Palpatine was going to become the Emperor right from the start. And so did my parents, because that was one of the worst twists ever. They called it the moment we left the theater in 1999. I didn't, because I was a little kid, but they called it then. Not a very well done twist. But back on this book, so really that's when the start of this expanded universe began, and I'm not sure how canonical Splinter of the Mind's Eye was. It definitely had no bearing whatsoever when Empire Strikes Back came out, but, I mean, it's interesting. This is really where sequels, where Star Wars continued to grow in these semi-official things. So, after Return of the Jedi, what happened is Star Wars basically disappeared for a while. The 1980s, George Lucas kind of wanted to get over it, I think. At some point, he planned to make like 16 movies, and he eventually cut it down to 3, because he realized, you know, I'm gonna need a life beyond this film franchise. This is ridiculous. And the 1980s, there was a lot of toys made, there were comics made, but eventually the comic books ended, the toys kind of ran out. There was a really terrible TV show called Star Wars Droids, which I remember renting as a kid, and that's basically all that needs to get said about that. Not very good. There was also 2 movies involved with the Ewoks. There were Ewok movies, which I have not seen and I'm not going to see. Because, Jesus Christ, that sounds awful. I think the Ewoks get a lot of shit among Star Wars nerds. They're cutesy and they're fun, and that's not like their idea of what Star Wars is going to be. I kind of like the Ewoks. I've grown up with them, so I'm not hateful towards them. I kind of think they slow down Return of the Jedi a great deal, considering, you know, there's a lot of energy at the start of the movie, then they land on the Ewok planet, and now we're, like, stuck for a half hour while they escape these, you know, teddy bears. But, you know, they're teddy bears. How could you hate them? But still, a movie about them, I don't want to watch that. So, fine on that. Then in 1991, I think, maybe, I don't know what the cause and effect here is, but at some point, Timothy Zahn or somebody in the Lucas mercantile empire decided we're going to go start making books. Because, I mean, at that point, I'm not sure if this is the first kind of, like, semi-canonical thing. There might have been Star Trek novels before this. There might have been Doctor Who novels before this. I'm not sure. But I don't think it started in 1991. But eventually somebody saw, you know, the people are making money off of that. And people want to know what's going to happen after Return of the Jedi. And as far as we know, no movie's ever going to get made. So let's hire Timothy Zahn. He'll write the Thrawn trilogy, which came out in 1991, ended in 1993, and was 3 books, which up until a few years ago was, as far as everybody knew, Star Wars Episodes 7, 8, and 9. Which it seems fine and tidy, but then Timothy Zahn wrote 2 more books. Then other guys started writing their own series, like the Jedi Academy trilogy, and Jedi Prince, and Shadows of the Empire, and Legacy of the Force, and God, fucking just endless amounts of books. Like, you have no idea. So we reached the point where I think there were more Star Wars. If you're gonna go and put a Roman numeral next to every single Star Wars novel, you'd break out of C and into M, you know? Like, it's ridiculous. But the Thrawn trilogy, when it came out, I think it was... looking back, it might have been a small deal, considering it was just books, but they sold reasonably well, and they started off this entire thing of an expanded universe. This idea, alright, real hardcore fans, they're going to want to read the books. Alright, and that's when you can tell you're a hardcore fan, when you start fucking reading the books. Alright? You know, casual people, they'll just go watch the movies. Hardcore fans, they read the fucking books. They have a library of Star Wars books. And I hate to admit this, but I have never actually read the Thrawn trilogy. When I was a real little kid, my mom started reading me the very first book. And I got bored, because I didn't like it that much. It didn't feel like Star Wars to me as a kid. There's always this awkwardness when you're transitioning a visual medium into a book medium. Because in a book, you have much, much greater sense of a character's personality and their inner thoughts, and that's not something that's in a film. So when you're translating that, it gets odd. It always feels unnatural. Like, you can make a book into a movie, but I'm not sure how well you can make a movie into a book. Or maybe I was just a little kid and I didn't care too much. I just wanted to read Goosebumps, or Harry Potter, or whatever else. So, the Thrawn trilogy, that was in my house for a while. I never read them, and you know what? Now that the expanded universe is dead, they had this new attractiveness to me. I kind of want to read them as like this moment of rebellion. It's like, you know, this is the book Disney doesn't want me to read. I don't think Disney cares. If I buy them, it's all going to Lucas something or another, the whole Industrial Light and Magic empire. Someone's getting money, you know? They don't care. They're gonna keep selling it as long as it makes them money. It's like, you know, this is the alternative. When I go to see Star Wars 7, I'll at least have a template of an alternative. Because I know I wrote out a rough sketch for my own alternative a few months ago. Actually, near to a year now. And everyone hated it. I got more hate mail, well, hate comments, for that particular post than I have for anything else I've ever written, which I consider to be a huge success. You do not matter as an internet person unless people tell you, fuck you, I don't want anything to do with that. And congratulations, I'm glad people did. I like getting that kind of reaction. I hope I get that sort of reaction to this. If you tell me, go fuck myself, I'm glad. That means, you know what, at least you're passionate enough. At least I'm doing something right if I can get that. But, yeah, the Thrawn trilogy, I'm not sure how good it is. It comes in this weird era before the prequels. So, for example, instead of Sith Lords, Timothy Zahn calls them Dark Jedi. And, the Empire, as it continues, the Dark Jedi they find is a man called, and this begins Star Wars' simply hideous tradition of naming characters with shit names that are impossible to pronounce. So, the Dark Jedi, Joruus C'baoth. Or something like that. Jorw, 2 U's, S, C''Boath. These horrible fantasy names. It's garbage. Ugh. You know, I'm not a big fan of, like, making up random phonemes and shoving them into a thing, so it's like Joruus C'baoth. Ugh. Thrawn. Thrawn's a good name. I could meet a guy named John Thrawn, and I'll be like, hey, John Thrawn, you seem like a name. If I meet somebody named Joruus C'baoth, I'll be like, who the fuck are you kidding? Come back with your real name, poser. What is this nonsense? So, I did actually read a book series that was a sequel to Return of the Jedi. And this was called The Glove of Darth Vader. This was written by Paul and Hollis Davids, who I assume are brothers, or because this was back well before people got married. This was 1992. I didn't read these in 1992, but they were there. So, the Glove of Darth Vader series was kind of the young adult novel. I just used that word, young adult. I hate that phrase. It was the kids' novel version. These books were like 100 pages long at best, and they were incredibly goofy. The Empire successors, as it turns out, according to the Davids brothers, if you are a Dark Governor, or as this guy calls them, Grand Moffs, which turns out to be the correct name? Yeah, if you're a governor in the Empire, you're a Grand Moff. M-O-F-F. Grand Moff. Sorry, that sounds terrible too. But anyway, when a Grand Moff meets another Grand Moff, they don't say hello. They don't say Sig Zeon. They say, I bid you dark greetings. Yes, dark greetings. They pepper their language of all kinds of things. Gentlemen to evil. So the story here is that Luke goes and gets a new apprentice whose name is Ken. Just Ken. He's the audience surrogate, considering he's like a 12-year-old kid who collects Star Wars toys. Somehow. I'm not sure how, but the kid had Star Wars toys. I remember that. That was really cool. And lots of stupid stuff happened. There was a long plotline about saving the whales. Lando Calrissian lost his city to a Hutt, who eventually beat the bad guy, whose name was Trioculus. And if you're wondering why the bad guy's name was Trioculus, it's because he had 3 eyes. So there you go. There was, it wasn't very good, I guess, in retrospect. But as a little kid, I liked it. I mean, it was back when I read Goosebumps, I didn't know shit from shit. Hey, when I was about that age, I saw Star Wars Episode 1, and I loved it. I loved the fuck out of it. I wanted to see that movie again. My parents didn't love it. They hated the shit out of it day one, God bless them. And years later, I learned... Well, actually, I think it was after I saw Episode 2. Episode 2 was kind of a big awakening for me. It was that moment when I'm like, wow, movies can really, really suck, can't they? That was like the first one, and I laugh about that movie still. Oh, man. And Episode 1 sucks, and Episode 3 sucks, so... Anyway, another book series I read as a kid, this is the Jedi Academy trilogy. It was written by Kevin J. Anderson. It came out in 1994 to, I think, 1995 or 6. I actually read this because I thought this was the Thrawn trilogy. I picked it out of my local library. It was not. I listened to it as a book on tape while my family was on vacation in Ohio. And I burned through the entire thing while we were basically driving between all kinds of places. So, this is the sequel to the Thrawn trilogy. It involves Luke starting up a Jedi Academy, as you hear. And he starts it off at Yavin 4, because for whatever reason that planet just happens to have a whole bunch of Jedi temples. And the plotline is within this huge cluster of black holes, which is called the Maw, in one of, honestly, a very cool thing. The Jedi Academy trilogy, I'm going to say right now, I think Star Wars fans hate it. That's the impression I get online, but I remember when I read it as a kid, I thought, this is actually, there's a lot of cool things, there's a lot to like here. So, Luke, he starts his own Jedi Academy. This is after Han Solo and the rest. They went traveling around the universe collecting potential Jedi applicants. And one of them is a boy named Kip Doran. Yes, Kip Doran. Yep. Kip Doran is something of a dark lad. I don't remember what the Empire did to him, but he had a lot of problems with them. And as he was learning to be a Jedi Knight, he eventually contacted some ghost of a dark Jedi, because again, this is before the word Sith came along, so, and he steadily started to go insane. And he decided to go against a crusade to destroy whatever was left of the Empire after they were defeated in the real movies and in the Thrawn trilogy. One thing you'll learn from the Star Wars Expanded Universe is that really, the Empire never dies. You can defeat... They will keep coming back. They're like fucking vermin, you know? You destroy their last fleet, their last gambit to go and defeat the Republic, and they'll be back with a whole other one. And in this one, there was a fleet led by one Admiral Dala, who was this female admiral, who I thought that was really cool. Hey, you know, a woman commander. As a kid, you don't see that very much, especially in Star Wars. There aren't that many women in Star Wars, you might know. And the fact there's a bad one is something new, really. Admiral Dala, she had 3 Star Destroyers, which were basically cut off from the rest of the Empire because they were stationed in the Maw, which was this very top-secret facility that Governor Tarkin, or as I'm told to call him, Grand Moff Tarkin, Peter Cushing from A New Hope, he had this thing commissioned to go build more super weapons. I think this is where the Death Star was originally built, and it is where the Sun Crusher was built. This is the new super weapon. Admiral Dala takes her tiny fleet and decides, you know what, I'm going to go challenge the Republic. It doesn't go well for her, which amongst internet nerds, well, not nerds, but internet commentary, makes her one of the more laughable characters in the Star Wars Expanded Universe, but I thought, you know what, that's kind of believable, really, and tragic. She's fighting this completely lost war with no resources, and it goes very badly for her. Somehow or another, she manages to escape at the end of these 3 books. She's not actually defeated, but oh well. Kip Doran, after going insane, goes and captures the Sun Crusher, which, again, I've heard listed as one of the most ridiculous parts of the Expanded Universe, but I think is really cool. Because, alright, you got the Death Star, it can blow up planets. What do you do to top that? Oh! You make the Sun Crusher, which can blow up stars. So he goes and he takes the Sun Crusher, and he starts flying around. It's this little tiny metal ship that's basically indestructible because it flies through stars and makes them supernova. And he destroys basically the entire Empire, and, you know, I forget what actually happened with him. I think Luke, like, talked him down and had him become an apprentice. It all ended well for good. It always does. So, I liked the Jedi Academy trilogy for what it was. I thought it had its problems. It definitely could not have been filmed in, say, Star Wars 9, 10, wait, no, 10, 11, and 12. Yeah, 10, 11, and 12. Yeah, it could not have been those things. But, you know, if you're really desperate for cheesy sci-fi novels, I mean, yeah, go read that. Some space opera. Nothing wrong with that. Anyway, as the Expanded Universe continued to expand in its crazy way, the story continued to evolve. So, Luke Skywalker actually got married. He married a lovely redhead named Mara Jade. This was before George Lucas decided, no, Jedi don't get married, they're monks. Which is just really creepy and awkward, and, you know, I hope they retcon that for the new things. You know what? You're gonna go throw away the Expanded Universe, try to throw away some of the shit from the prequels. You know? Let's not think of that as written golden. You know, just kinda cut. If anything, cut them all. You know, just like, nope, no more Star Wars Episode 1, 2, and 3. We'll get back to that. We'll make our own ones. But they're not going to do that. They won't. It's a shame. Also, Leia and Han Solo, they had kids. Jaqen and Jaina Solo. Luke had his own son, Ben Skywalker. And all those people are dead now, I guess. What happens to a fictional character once he's been told by his corporate overseers that he doesn't exist anymore? I'd love to see, like, some sort of metafictional novel, like, starring Ben Skywalker, but, you know, he just realized, oh, all my adventures never happened. My mom doesn't exist, my cousins don't exist, I don't exist, everything I've done in my life, it's all gone. Disney... Mickey Mouse told me that my life is meaningless. But while I'm mourning the Expanded Universe, I will talk about one last subject, and that is Shadows of the Empire, my personal favorite thing to come out extra-canonical of Star Wars. That was a 1996 multimedia event. That was the phrase they used. It was one of the first times I've ever heard such a thing. It was really innovative. So, alright, it was going to be a novel set between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. The book was written by Steve Perry, but it was also going to be a few other things. I think there was a comic book, maybe some sort of, like, radio recording, and, most impressively, a video game on the Nintendo 64, one of the best video games ever. In this, you play as Dash Rendar, who is basically Han Solo, except he has, like, an 80s snowboarder jacket and a beard. And, he's got his own ship, he flies up, he destroys a few AT-ATs, one of the coolest damn video game moments ever in my entire life, fighting the Battle of Hoth. I love it so much. And there's also a on-foot, third-person, first-person kind of mixer shooter, which I'm guessing if I played again now, might suck balls, but Shadow of the Empire back then, that was a great stuff. Really cool thing. So, Dash Rendar, at the end, he sacrificed his life to destroy some sort of super weapon that the nefarious Prince Zixor built. So if you have a Nintendo 64 and you're wondering, maybe I need a video game that somehow or another I didn't play, go play Shadows of the Empire, or possibly read the novel. I don't know, the novel might not be that bad. But none of it matters anymore. The Space Bunny, Jorah Saboth, the Glove of Darth Vader. The AT-ATs I destroyed as a kid while playing Shadows of the Empire. Kip Doran, Admiral Della, Jocelyn and Jaina Solo. The Yuzon Vong! The Yuzon Vong are gone! Who the fuck are the Yuzon Vong? Even I have no idea, but apparently they're some sort of alien species that invades. Or something. Really silly, stupid stuff. All of it, this big, messy, ridiculous, full of plot holes, just ridiculously riddled with plot holes and inconsistencies. Every novelist retconning the others, this war of continuities. All these things that don't make sense, all this silliness. The holiday special! They killed the holiday special! What about Life Day? What about Life Day? It's all gone. All of it. Disney just said it never happened. And you know what? It's probably for the best, ultimately. It's going to give them a free slate to go make their own mistakes. All the mistakes of the past are gone, and now they can go forward and completely fuck up Star Wars one last time. So, congratulations on that. I guess I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to continue this blog. This is one thing I've decided, alright? It might get down to the point that I'm only writing a single post of the year, but I will continue this blog until the day that I write a review of Star Wars Episode 9. Alright, I will keep doing it just to write the review, just to go and remind the world, yes, we all knew Star Wars Episode 9 was going to suck, and here it is, it sucked. Because I'm predicting the sequel trilogy will suck. I hope I'm wrong. I've been wrong in the past. I've been right in the past a lot more times. And that's that on the expanded universe. Blog stuff! Okay. I did not write a review of Bears, and I'm going to explain why. I went to go see Bears yesterday, right after I went to go see a little movie called The Quiet Ones, which... Wow, I completely forgot about that movie already. I wrote a review of it, in one ear, out the other. Completely gone, who fucking cares? I also saw the movie with Jamie Lannister, just to, like, fill in time. Like, I snuck in for, like, 10 minutes. And that was really, really bad. So I went to go see Bears, because I thought, you know, it's going to be a fun documentary. It's going to have bears, it's going to be really cuddly, it's going to be a lot of fun. It really wasn't. It was not March of the Penguins. It was just kind of... like, a lot of photography of bears, which, admittedly, very beautiful. Alaska's a lovely place, and bears are noble, really huggable creatures, you know? I miss my teddy bear from when I was a little kid. His name was Goodnight Bear. He was blue, and he had a nightcap, and he kept the monsters away. But anyway, the movie itself, fucking horrible as a nature documentary. I didn't learn shit about bears. The whole time was just like John C. Reilly just, like, he saw a bear, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna go make up a story. What can I say that's really cute? I'm John C. Reilly, haha. Like, alright, you know, that's great for little kids. I'm not enjoying this. So I walked out like 20 minutes in, and I'm like, you know, I came to this realization. There's always this struggle I have when I'm watching a really bad movie. It's like, can I just leave? I don't know. Can I actually use this material for the blog? When I went to see Son of God, I got really fucking close, because I'm like, I can just go, can't I? No. I have to have the full torment of this experience. It needs to be in the page. But as for Bears, I realized, you know what, I have nothing to say about this. There's no way on earth I'm going to be able to write even 3 paragraphs about this subject. I'm surprised I'm talking this much about bears. So I just left. I'm like, alright, that was really cute for little kids. Not very good. Not a very good movie. So, at least not for adults. So that was that. Anyway, as for blog stuff that's happening, over the next week, April will end, and May will start. So, in the meantime, I'll get this thing up, and to end April, I'm going to write the What I've Been Reading post, which will excite nobody, but who knows, alright, you know, we might like it. Got a few books that have been on the back burner, they're going to end up on there. Now, for May, the movies that are coming out this weekend are The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. That's it. I'll see if I can catch that. I'm going to be kind of busy this weekend. Who knows? As for other things I'm watching, I am going to go and see a little movie called... What the hell was that movie called? What the hell was that movie called? Guys, does anyone know? What am I talking about? Only Lovers Left Alive. That was it. This is a vampire movie. It's indie, I guess, kinda. It stars none other than Loki, and he's a vampire and he's a rock star. So that's gonna be really weird, and I'm gonna go give that a try. Another thing I'm watching. This is a anime series. It is called Fate Zero, which it's a little too early for me to declare if it's gonna be good or bad, but I may be done with it before the next Freelancin. May not. Who knows? And that's kind of it for blog predictions. There's also going to be the May look ahead. And, yeah. That's all I got there. If you are a really big fan of the Star Wars Expanded Universe and have been weeping the last few days, I understand your pain. But, get over it. Your books aren't gone. It's just that there aren't going to be new ones that are coming out. That's pretty much all there is to that. So thank you, Space Monkeys, for listening. I have been your ever humble Blue Highwind, and this has been Freelancin'. See you next week.